There will be a +1 tonight.
Good morning and good evening.
Hiya. Konbanwa.
Konbanwa. So we welcome to this little sort of review and sort about what's been going on and our thoughts. We're going to tell you what's coming up. It's all been decided and what we're going to be doing next as a competition.
Great.
Have a general chit chat for half an hour, and first thing I'm going to show you a little video I've put together.
And in the meantime, I'm going to have a coffee.
It's great.
Yes. Excellent bit of music. So there we go. That's Battle Royale in 30 seconds.
Visually.
Yeah,
Visually.
really well.
That's how it all happened. And we know the music, the copyright people are not going to demand to be taken down.
I want my cut.
Because the two people that created that are the two people at the top of this screen.
All right.
On a PlayStation after mounts of beer.
Yes. Oh, yes, an awful lot of beer one night.
Yes, very creative. So that was the thing. It's been an exciting competition. So, Michael, what's your thoughts? On the whole thing?
How many weeks? How many weeks did that transpire? That visual shuffling. How many weeks did that go for?
That actual video that I made took me.
I mean, the Royale itself.
The concept started probably August of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Zeb, this is not pre-recorded. We are live, aren't we, chaps? We are live.
We're absolutely live.
Yeah, the idea came to me in August, and we put out the first, I think, the promo video in September, and we started in October.
Yeah.
It's just
31 weeks.
31 weeks.
A slow slog.
Yeah. 5th of October up until today.
Yeah.
So what's been your highlights then, Michael, do you think, for you?
Well, I put Foxtrot up. It fought well. And it lost. But I mean, I'll tell you something, you describe this a lot of times as, well, it's kind of random, people lose out, in a random, doesn't really make any sense. But I'll tell you, looking at the two albums that are up against each other and the types of people who are voting and who have gotten involved, it makes total sense to me. I mean, those two records are the culmination of a lot of people who are in their 50s and 60s, who are the majority of this thing. So it seems like natural selection to get at those two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The fact that we had a Who versus Who. If we'd had a Beatles versus Beatles, it would have been interesting to see who would have come out on top, which album. But we didn't get that. But yeah, I think in a way it was inevitable that the two that we've ended up with, as you say, it's almost like natural selection.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mike, you went out round one, didn't you?
Oh,
yeah.
Well. I mean, what I think about the competition, as a whole, is that looking at the original 32, we had all the classics, all the albums that that everybody knows, that they were all in there. You had, the Who's two biggest albums, and I think that, the two most popular Beatles albums as well. And then we had some classic, British and American prog. We had, we had all sorts of stuff. And as Michael says, it kind of reflected the sort of age group of the people who were putting this together and the people that are watching. But there are also some surprises in there. There was some stuff in there, some albums that I really didn't know at all. And, I like that. And I actually went out of my way, if I could each week, to listen to those albums, particularly the ones that I didn't know. And I've enjoyed it. And I think, we need to do something similar. Well, I know we are going to do something.
Yes, we are,
aren't we? But yeah, I mean, there were some surprises along the way.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I don't think was a surprise was that Who's Next finished in the final and Quadrophenia didn't. Because Quadrophenia is a very, very British album, I think. It is beloved by people in the UK because of the whole modern rockers subculture thing, but possibly it doesn't quite translate to the rest of the world, and people don't get it in quite the same way as we do in the UK. So, I think that Who's Next was the sort of worthy sort of finalist.
Now, if the Lighthouse Project had got off the drawing board, do you think that Who's Next didn't think? Do you think that the Lighthouse Project would have been in the final? If that
interesting question.
Yeah, I thought I'd put it to your brains. Because I don't think it would, in all honesty.
Well, because we don't know what music they would have come out with. We can't really say.
Well, how many? There's about
yes,
4 or 5 tracks came out of what they put on Who's Next, didn't they?
Yeah, but that wasn't the sum total of what they were capable of producing. No. It gave us an idea that this is a possible route. I think Who's Next would have beaten it anyway. I don't think the Lighthouse. Yeah. Don't think the Lighthouse Project would have won. No.
It's difficult to say, isn't it? But possibly that the whole sort of project as Pete Townsend envisaged it would be definitely one for the fans, but maybe it wouldn't have quite caught the imagination of record buyers around the world. I mean, but we'll never know, will we? But exactly. that's my view.
The other question I think is on is why do you think The Colour of Spring did so well? What made that album be like the dark horse that?
Yeah,
it knocked out some huge albums.
Yeah, it's it's an absolute mystery to me. You know, I didn't envisage that, you know, PJ Harvey was going to go out in the first round. You know, I really didn't, and partly it was because, you know, the Tuk Tuk album is one that I didn't really know. I mean, it's actually a fine album, and you know, and I think I said on the stream before that, you know, that I kind of had in the back of my head, you know, that Tuk Tuk were quite sort of lightweight. They were a pop band, really.
Mm-hmm.
But clearly, you know, I was mistaken. You know, that they've got some, you know, more serious stuff in their oeuvre. You know, and that's one of their albums. And yeah, but I'm still surprised. I'm still surprised it did so well, because I don't think it's that well known.
I agree. It was not well known in the United States, and you know, if you go back to the Who, I mean, I think Tommy was more popular and more well known than Quadrophenia. I mean, Tommy had the hits and had the movies and everything else, but Who's Next was a stadium sounding record. It was so popular amongst all age groups, everybody. And Quadrophenia, I think, was an acquired taste. I mean, you know, it's kind of, you know, maybe it would have been more commercially successful as a single record, but that's not a debate I want to have with you at the moment. But that's my observation.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a Brit, of course, and I prefer Who's Next. I find, and I know Steve, you'll probably give me a hard time later, but I do find Quadrophenia a little. There are some filler tracks on there, and I don't get what anyone says, and I can understand why America didn't get it. I really, because it's very quintessential British English. In fact, not British. It's very English.
Yeah,
and I can understand why that. But the appeal of Who's Next is the same as me. It's just, it opens with a fantastic track and ends with a fantastic track,
right,
and some very solid tracks in the middle. And I think that's why.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I think if you did a poll, that you know, Barbara O'Reilly would be one of the most popular Who tracks of all time. You know, regardless.
Yeah. Well, it's had so much airtime.
Yeah.
And not through record playing, but through being soundtrack to a TV program.
Yeah. Exactly.
I think that's where Tommy would have been better.
Yeah.
Because Tommy crossed the Atlantic in terms of culture. Yeah. Everybody knew about standing at a pinball machine. People got that. And the fact that, okay, it's a blind guy. The lyrics, the music, the imagery that it conjured up was brilliant.
Right.
It shot across the Atlantic, and yes, it kicked off. Everybody got the idea. Quadrophenia, as Iain says quite rightly, is very English, not so much British English.
And you know the boot. I mean, them boots from Tommy, them big red boots. They're sitting in Northampton's shoe museum. Because obviously Northampton, Michael, is a shoe town. We've known for the film Kinky Boots is based from my town. That's a true story. So it was, you know, them boots just made it, you know, into our museum. We got them, so they're great. And it had Acid Queen on.
Yeah.
And who was standing in those boots?
Elton.
Oh yes, Elton. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you got another shot in the arm from having Elton John, and everybody, Elton John, what's he doing here? This is the Who. No, it's not. This is culture.
Yeah, exactly. Because you know the film. I mean, I really like the film. I mean, quite often, you know, sort of, you know, a film of a concept album, you think, well, you know, it could go astray. But I think both Quadrophenia and and Tommy are very good films, and for different reasons. Yeah. And Elton is very sort of glam rock, isn't he? In Tommy as a pinball wizard, and and then you've got Tina Turner in there, and it's as Michael says, it's something that Americans can probably relate to a lot more than the modern rockers fighting on the beaches at Brighton in the 1960s.
Yeah. So let's turn to the other finalist, Sgt. Pepper's. There's always been this argument, is it the greatest Beatles album or is it not? I mean, personally, I'm a big fan of Abbey Road.
Yeah.
And is it as big as Revolver? I think Revolver is on the same part as Pepper's. Two very important albums in music culture.
Yes.
Except With and Without You, which I cannot stand. I don't think I've ever played it all the way through.
Where I'm going.
How many Beatles records were in the competition? How many Beatles records were in the Royale?
2, the Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's. I would have expected a few more, to be quite honest.
Yeah, me too. That was the first.
I thought Abbey Road would have
wasn't even in there. Wasn't even submitted.
No, or Rubber Soul, another important album. So, yeah, I mean, Sgt. Pepper's. I think it's a masterpiece, but I don't think it's their best album.
No, probably not. I think it's our most innovative album, though.
Yes.
That when when you delve into it and the background of the recording of Sgt. Pepper, I mean it's quite amazing. That they were creating sort of effects that you would imagine would come from the sort of digital age, and that they were doing it all sort of analog by cutting up magnetic tape and sticking it back together again. For the that was on the organ, wasn't it? For the benefit of Mr. Guy.
Yeah.
And it was just different. But I prefer Revolver, and I think Rubber Soul has got some absolutely fantastic tracks on it. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I think the best track on Sgt. Pepper's is A Day in the Life. That was so different, and as you've just said, Mike, that was cut with magnetic tape and to get that sound and the alarm clocks and I think it's a magnificent track. It's probably one of the best things that they ever did, without a doubt. It's and it all ends on that.
Yeah.
At the same time, you've got the accompanying video or the accompanying images are all psychedelic, cartoonish, which reflects the culture at the time. Because people were moving in. We'll smoke this and we'll take that, LSD and marijuana and whatnot. People were having these weird, that's what the culture was at the time, and people could get that. Whereas with Revolver, it was just straight music. There wasn't imagery to go along with it.
Right.
I think that's where Sgt. Pepper became commercially so successful.
I mean, I think the thing I noticed with Sgt. Pepper when I was doing the research, every time it had a reissue, it got top 10 in most countries and at least number 1 in one country. Now, that's something that Who's Next didn't do. Every time that got a reissue, it has done well. I mean, it's sold, it's 32 billion or something copies worldwide.
Incredible, isn't it? Absolutely.
So in Michael, in the United States, what was, Revolver, Sgt. Pepper's, which one really got the Americans?
They all did. I mean, for me, I'll be. I don't think I've ever said this, but I loved everything that they did. I mean, from like at the youngest age. I mean, for every album, was better and better. They didn't have a single bad track on their records, and I put up with some of their excursions. I liked Yellow Submarine. I went to the movie theater and I saw that movie and I loved it. I mean, until their solo efforts, that was probably the only time I was scratching my head with them. But as far as I was concerned, they couldn't do anything wrong. Whereas the Stones did stumble. But for me, the Beatles never stumbled. So I'm the wrong person to ask, what's the better album? Because for me, I loved them all.
Yeah, Dave's just put up the certifications for Sgt. Pepper worldwide. I mean, that's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, 18 times platinum in the UK, 11 in the US, 6 times platinum in New Zealand, 8 times platinum in Canada, 4 times in Australia. I mean, 5 times platinum in Argentina. 2 and a 3, because the 3 was a 1987 CD issue. Italy, sales since 2009, since 2009.
That's incredible, isn't it?
It is. And Japan, they're 208,000.
Is that one at the worldwide sales?
32 million. Just one album, 32 million.
Yeah. It's quite interesting looking at the UK and US sort of sales there. Is that we all know that if a VC channel is talking about the Beatles, invariably it's an American channel, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. These days, yes.
You look at it, United States, 11 million sales there. United Kingdom, 5.4 million. On a population that's only about a fifth of the US.
If it's even a fifth.
So we do love our own, don't we? And that's that's it. I would have thought the US sales would be even greater than that. Quite honestly.
Well, I'm surprised that they're only certified as 11 times platinum on 11 million sales in the US, whereas the UK, it's half the number of sales, but they're 18 times platinum.
Yeah.
So but I note the double asterisk is sales and streaming figures. This is where a lot of the understanding of music these days has switched from the physical copy to the electronic to the streaming. So much now is streaming that I think it's Taylor Swift is the only artist in the last couple of years who has seriously done more sales in vinyl than any. She's broken so many records in the last couple of years. It's unbelievable. And yet you look at that one album has sold 32 million copies worldwide.
Yeah.
Taylor Swift has sold 32 million copies of one album in, a weekend.
Yeah.
It's music for you, isn't it?
It is. Yeah. It is. Oh, I'm going to stop sharing that and come back.
Anyway, one more last question about the thing. Just for that panel of 2 guests today, who do you think's won? I won't tell you.
Of the 2? Oh, okay.
It's not what you would think. Who do you think would have won?
I think it's Sgt. Pepper, but I think it will be fairly close. But we'll find out tonight, won't we?
Find out tonight. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, we know that we know.
In fact, anybody who has voted can see the result.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're gonna have a new competition. It was discussed post stream one night if we're going to do it again, and I came up with an idea. But to be quite honest, I'm taking up an idea that one of our gang came up with when we did this before, and that was Stevie. He said, "We've done the greatest album. Why don't we do the greatest single of all time?" According to the Obscurians, and I think it was a big thumbs up round the board. Everyone thought the idea.
It was,
do this a bit different. It's gonna be like a World Cup where we're gonna have groups first. Now, how we're gonna put people in groups is genres. So we're gonna have like pops, progs going up against each other, and then we'll go into the knockout stage, and then we'll get people for the knockout style. Every knockout style will be drawn by a super guest. I know who will get one of the ones is Stevie, because he missed out last time. So Stevie will, I'm sure Michael will do a draw. We'll get people that come up on a Thursday night to make the draw. So that we'll put that together in August. We'll do a little promo in September, and we'll start again in
October.
In October. Yeah. So get your thinking caps on about you can have. What I want you to do is all give me two, because you can have your primary and then your secondary. If we need to do a wheel to make up the numbers for the groups, that's how we'll do it, so that it's potluck on that. But what's going to replace it next week? Now, I always thought of doing a thing about, we've done Battle of the Debut, so I thought, why not do something about the sophomore albums, the ones that everyone forgets? And I come up with the Battle of Sophomores, but Dave come up with a better name.
Sophomore Drome.
Sophomore Drome?
Yes. Taking the lead from Tina. Two bands enter, one band leaves.
Got it.
So you will announce who the first two albums for that will be announced tonight. Well, I think a big thank you to everybody that has actually taken part, and everyone that put an entry in and got into the spirit of things. Thank you for everyone that has voted. Okay, we had a little bit
including those who voted more than once.
Yes, yes, yes. We know who you are now. So, you didn't fool us. Enough said. And once again, thank you for Mike and Michael for coming up this morning. Well,
yes,
Michael, it's what time is it?
Dinner time.
It's about 7:30 your time, Michael.
Yeah. And what's going to be quite amazing that he'll go to bed and he'll be back in the show.
That's true, but I'm ready.
Show his eponymous. Yes.
Yeah. Well, Michael lives in the future, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes. Yeah. He knows what's coming.
He knows what's coming. So thank you very much, gentlemen, for taking time out on a Thursday morning to do this. I really appreciate it, and thank you, everybody. And it's been a fantastic competition. I didn't expect it to go as well as it did, and I don't think anyone else did. Everyone got into the spirit of it. Even eventually, our American friends got what we were doing. They couldn't get over this knockouts and drawing, but they eventually got the thing. But the world, if we do the next one like World Cup, I think everyone understands, because it's same with NFL and the baseball in it. It's groups into the So thank you very much, people, and we'll see you all again at 8:00 tonight.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.